Hello and welcome to the Pandaverse. I'm E,
And I'm C.
and we're here. We're on puppy watch right now with
Puppy
Dallas.
watch.
Any
Yeah.
day, any hour, any minute now.
It could be right now. If you can't tell, I look really tired.
Yeah,
Oh,
Christine's been on puppy watch for what, about a week?
yeah, yeah. What was it? Friday, she was pretty miserable. So I took personal day and I stayed home with her and no puppies. And then we thought for sure last night and no puppies. And then her temperature dropped. So, and they say that's like the sign for any time now, anytime. So, and she's currently in the room with us. So, I mean, it could be right now or right now.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, I've been sleeping on my office floor to make sure that if she needs help, I'm right there to help her. She didn't have a very good go at it last time. She lost the only puppy she was pregnant with. So we want to make sure this time, everything goes smooth. There's at least 9 puppies coming. So we want them all to be healthy.
And the daddy has a big head, so
Yes, he
these
does.
might not be easy births.
Yes, so we're gonna cross our fingers, and right now she's doing good. She's in good spirits. She's pretty miserable though. She's laying there, poor thing.
She'll be in favor of getting fixed after that.
Yes, she's already all for it. So what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about the state of the publishing business in 2021 and supporting authors with reviews and finding reviewers and anything else that may come up, just like any other day.
Yes, sounds good.
So you've been working on getting reviewers,
I have. Yes.
specifically for the Pandamoon authors, but really what we envision doing with the Pandaverse is helping all authors everywhere. So, a lot of the reviewers that we're bringing in are active reviewers community. So they review other authors too. What we're going to do, because we kind of run the marketing department and kind of do what we want, we'll be promoting authors from the outside too.
Yeah. Yes, we
And
will.
especially people that we invite to come onto our show and talk to us. So if you're interested, if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in doing, coming on the show and talking to Christine and I, promoting your book, getting your books reviewed, send us an email. You can send it to marketing@pandamoonpublishing.com, all one word, pandamoonpublishing.com. That'll get to both of our email addresses automatically,
Yes.
so you don't have to remember them separate. You can also follow Christine and I on Facebook, Twitter, any of the other major social media platforms. We're on there. Pretty easy. Just look for our names. I think Christine's name's minus the L on Twitter because they have a character limit for
Okay.
everything.
Yeah.
For everything. They're so back. If you
No.
post a video to Twitter, it comes out at 480p. Okay.
What's
I
that?
mean,
I don't even
what's
remember.
that? That's like 20 years ago technology.
Yeah.
So anyway, so follow us on social media. Of course, follow us on YouTube. We're gonna grow the community this year, and we have a lot of great books coming out from Pandamoon.
Yeah, we
And
do.
there's a lot of authors that we know that have, from outside Pandamoon that are getting ready to drop some book. Industry for the past year has been horrible.
Yeah, it's been tough. COVID's really, really taken a hit on the market a little
I
bit.
mean, a lot of people think that, well, everybody's stuck home, so, they're probably reading a lot of books, but
That's not the case.
that's not the case.
No.
I've been watching a lot of Netflix or Disney Channel or
Hulu.
Hulu. They've been passively entertaining themselves
Hmm.
instead of growing their mind. Because all those movies that you watch on Netflix, Hulu, and Disney start somewhere.
That's right.
They usually start with an author.
Yep.
So if you want to get to the cutting edge, the trends and everything, you gotta read books.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? I heard a dirty little secret, Elgin.
What?
I heard that Pandamoon may be reopening its submissions.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
we don't have a date yet, but it's coming soon.
it is coming soon, guys. Polish up those manuscripts.
Yeah, we've been working on some standard operating procedures and some other documents in the past week to kind of streamline things because When you open up submissions, if you're a publisher, I don't care if you're small, medium, large, when you open up submissions, you get submissions. There's a
Yeah,
lot
you
of
do.
people out there that want to publish books. They would like to have some help publishing books because they're new to the business. If you're trying to self-publish and do everything yourself, it's a little daunting.
Mm-hmm.
Some authors come through it and they're able to do it, but most authors fail at it. And it's good to have a community to support you, and
Yeah.
that's really
Yes.
that's the essence of Pandamoon. Be on the lookout for that. We're going to be opening up submissions in the next
Yeah.
couple of
Just
months.
watch our Twitter page, watch our Facebook page. Generally, there's announcements about something almost daily. So keep an eye on it.
In the past week, I've received some requests for information, and a lot of people are confused about the publishing process. And the publishing process is a lot different than it used to be.
Exactly.
I mean, if you think that, because Christine and I are published authors, that we're wealthy, take a look at us, okay?
See my sweatshirt?
Yeah.
Guess how much it cost? $10.
$10. There you go. I don't even know how much this shirt cost. I just found it in a drawer. I think it was my drawer.
Oh, this might have come from Goodwill.
We've said it before on the show that the successful authors are the exception, not the rule. I mean, there are millions of books published every year, and
Yes.
there are millions of books that fail every year. There you go.
Yes, but
Yes.
the biggest part of it is that a lot of people don't realize that if you want to get into the publishing industry, that if you do accomplish that task, that it doesn't stop there. The publisher doesn't do all the work for you. You still have to step up, build your brand, and you have to keep going at that for years so you can reach as many people and rise above the noise. And I think that's like the biggest misconception that people have, is that as soon as you get that publishing contract, cha-ching, like I'm famous, I'm rich, and guys, that's not real life at all.
No. The best thing you can do right now, because you're going to have to do it anyway, is start building your brand.
Yes.
I don't even care if you've started writing your book already.
Yeah.
But if you're
Build your
thinking about
platform.
writing a book, start building your platform right now.
And let me give you some advice. The other day, I was scrolling through Twitter, and there was a big thread about somebody had heard a rumor that publishers, agents, and other people will go through Twitter and Facebook and look at you as a person, what you post, how often you post, how, big your platform is. And I was reading the different responses, and some people were like, no, they don't. That's just a rumor. And other people were like, why would they do that? And I finally commented, and I was like, we do. Because listen, we want to see that you really do have the drive to get out there and get your beautiful work out to as many people as you can. As an author, you can't just sit there and just let other people do the work for you. So what you post, you really need to think about that, because right now we are in an age where you really have to be mindful of the things you post on social media. There are very many people that, you could post the wrong thing and offend someone, and you don't want to do that. So you have to be very mindful. So publishers, agents, we all go through, and yes, we look to see if you're building your brand, what kind of posts you're making, if you're a positive person, because that all goes hand in hand with building a platform.
Yeah, that's the important thing, is to present yourself positively, your brand positive. As a publisher, we don't censor people. We don't tell people what to think, what to believe. We don't get political or religious or anything, because all that, as far as we're concerned, that's all your business.
That's your business.
So
Yep.
it's all your business. Having said that, you have to realize that if you take a strong position on controversial things, you're going to alienate half the people. Now,
Right.
maybe that's okay. Maybe that's tied to your identity and what you write about, and that's fine. But you have to realize that everything that you say on social media is there forever.
Yes. And let me give you a good example. Once again, I was on Twitter, and I came across a post where there was an author who had a different political view other than someone else. And the other person went to the extreme and went to their page and left them a 1-star review because they just didn't like what that person had to say. That's definitely not okay. Those are the kind of things when you put yourself out there, we're just in a different age. So you really have to be mindful, especially when you're building that platform.
You have to have a thick skin, okay? Because people are going to post 1-star reviews.
Yes.
They're going to say bad things about you because you're doing something that they can't, and they're resentful. And they can't do it because they don't want to do it, okay? Because I'm of mind that if you want to write a book, you can, okay? There's no can't in that. The can't comes from a negative mindset. And if you really, really, really have a story inside of you, you can write that story. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to like your story. There are going to be some people who like your story, some people who don't. I mean, Christine can tell you, we've had reviews posted that, stymie us. Why did this person even buy the book? Because they say something like, I don't like books about vampires. Well, there's a vampire in this book. It's pretty obvious. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't like children's. Well, why are you reading a children's book?
There's too much romance in this romance.
There's too much romance in this romance novel. Yeah, the scenes are a little too steamy. As a publisher, Pandamoon kind of tries to take the middle of the road as much as possible. But we have authors that are all across the spectrum in their causes and their beliefs, and we support that. We support people supporting causes because we don't want people who are lackluster people. We don't want people who are always so conscious of trying to say the right thing all the time that they're afraid to say anything. And that becomes a limitation in any writing, any art, really. I mean, artists tend to be a little controversial, just because they're artists. They see the world a different way.
Yep.
And that's fine. But you have to realize that when you do that, you're not going to be able to always sit on the fence.
Yeah.
And if you're in the middle of the fence, like pretty much, I'm a very apolitical person. I get attacked from all sides. And Christine can tell you, she doesn't know what my politics are because, frankly, I don't have any. Okay, I pretty much hate everybody that's in Washington D.C. Okay, some of them do good things every now and then, and that's, to my estimation, that's the proverbial squirrel finding blind squirrel finding an acorn every now and then. Okay. They're all useless people. They're drains on society. They take our tax dollars and waste them. That's the way that I see things. They need to be doing more for the people. They need to be listening to the people and not their special interests and their corporations and everything. So if that defines my political views, so be it. I hate Washington. Okay.
Now everybody knows.
Everybody knows. All right. But I like people and I like helping people and I hate seeing people get hurt. And I think most authors fall into that category, that they want to help other people. And I can tell you that the writing community, the authors that are out there, the writing community is very supportive of one another.
It is. The writing community is one of the best places, that you could be in, really. You make so many friends. You have people that have your back. If you need or have anything, any questions, they're there for you no matter what. And
if you don't feel that you have a story in you that you can tell or whatever, you can always read. You can always read somebody else's story and review it and promote that person and support that author and get the word out. Help get the word out about their book. If you want to write reviews, you write reviews for the people. It doesn't. Most people go, "Oh, I can't write 2 sentences." Well, that's really all you need to do.
One will suffice.
Yeah. I don't understand people reading a book saying, "Hey, it was a great book," but they won't leave a review. Why wouldn't you want to tell people about this great book that you just read? You think somebody else would enjoy it?
Plus, it makes the author feel so good.
Yeah. When I was a kid, when I was like high school, college, I used to love being the first one to get the new album. New album was released. My favorite artist, very supportive of the music community. And I had a pretty good stereo because I worked in a hi-fi store and I got to buy stuff on consignment. So I was getting really good equipment at half price. And so I had this killer stereo when I was in college, especially. And people would come to my room to listen to my stereo. It was like it was on the tour of my fraternity. You have to come in and see the stereo. And it was huge. Had a light show going on with the LEDs. This is back in the 70s. LEDs were kind of new. People would come to my room and it was loud. And pretty much if anybody on the floor that I lived in my fraternity, if their stereo was too loud, I would just turn up mine and I would drown their stereo out, and they would finally give up. But I used to love bringing people into the room and sharing the music that I had found. Now, I was a musician myself, but of course I didn't have a publishing contract or a music publishing contract, or I wasn't signed to a recording contract or anything because I wasn't that good. But I could appreciate the music and the complexity and the things that were going on with the music. And I loved showing people the things that people were doing with music, the things that were cutting edge. And a lot of people, when I was growing up, they didn't like my music, but that music has hung on throughout the years. And you see people now on YouTube doing reaction videos, first time reaction, listening to 70s music. I mean, they're like, they're envious of people like me who grew up listening to this, and they go, all this good music around you. What was that like? Well, it's like it is now. I mean, you like songs and everything else. The difference was that people poured their soul into their music, and a lot of that soul in their music were the mistakes that were made in the music as well. I mean, things weren't always 100% on pitch like they are now, because they weren't auto-tuned, because we didn't have that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the music of the 60s, even some 50s music, but the 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, all that music is fantastic, and there's some exceptions to the rule now, where some of the newer music's really good the musicians are talented, but the music industry's destroyed itself in my estimation. The bright side of that is that there are a ton of people that are promoting their own music and doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And releasing their own songs, and they've got 1 million followers, and they're making, they're not independently wealthy, but they're making decent money. And chances are they're actually making more money than if they were signed to a contract with a major label.
Spotify, you got all those different platforms now that they're building their brand on. Let me give you an example of that. So, as some people know, I have an alternate job besides in the publishing business. And one of my employees, he is a musician, and he was actually on the top Billboard with his CD. So he finally gave me his CD, and I could not believe how beautiful it was. His name is Chris Castle, and he's on Spotify. He's everywhere, and he built his platform. He looks like James Dean. Great. I mean, just great voice. And man, it's amazing because you have these talented artists everywhere, writers, musicians, artists, like actors. Everybody.
You don't even realize that people that do this stuff. And
exactly.
It's like, they just mention it to you and you go, get out of here. I didn't know you were created. I didn't know you were created. But there was this guy that he worked for me when I was at Homeless Depot. I call it Homeless Depot because I was never home. But he worked for me up in Connecticut for Home Depot, and he was different. He was an unusual person, and he was a steady employee. He showed up to work, he did his job, and he was good with customers. But I had no clue what he did on the side when he was home. I mean, to me, he was like the stereotypical burnout. I mean, he did some serious drugs in the past, and they kind of fried his mind a little bit. That's the way he kind of seemed to me. He came off that way. But I mean, he was a great person to talk to. He just said some unusual things. Now, this is me saying that, okay?
That's weird.
But he came to me in January, and early January. He said, "Hey, I've been invited to go out to LA, so I've got plane tickets and everything else. So I just need the time off. I said, okay, sure. It's no problem. Didn't pursue it, with him that much. And so he comes back at the end of the month. And I said, so how were things out in LA? He goes, oh, it was great. It was interesting. I had a good time. I said, yeah, I've been there a couple of times. It's a different world out there. He said, yeah, it is. He goes, it's real different. And that was it. And then it's probably about 3 or 4 days after that, he was paged while he was out to lunch for a phone call. So I picked it up, to take a message for him. And there was a lady on the phone, and she was asking what time he'd be back. And I said, well, he just stepped out to lunch, so probably about an hour or something. And she goes, well, just tell him that his friend that he met out in LA gave him a call. I said, okay, well, that's cool. So he comes bopping back in about 20 minutes later, and I said, hey, you got a phone call while you were out. He goes, oh, yeah, who was it? I said, they didn't tell me. They just said that you would know. It was a lady, a friend that you met out in L.A. And he goes, oh, okay. So
who was it?
about 10 minutes later, he comes up to me. He goes, hey, thanks for that call. That was kind of a business deal that I worked out when I was in L.A. And I said, oh, well, that's cool. So you're doing some business. He goes, yeah, it's the thing that I do on the side. He goes, they invited me out there to be one of the selectors for the Grammys. And I was like, what? He goes, well, that's what I do. I have a small studio, and that's what I do on the side. And I go, so you're like a producer or an engineer? He goes, yeah, kind of like all that. But he developed new people, and was helping them do things. And this is like 20 years ago. This is before you had everything that was online or anything. But he had a good sense for music, and he had built up his own little studio, and he did things for people, discovered artists and everything. And he had a little bit of a reputation within the music community because of the people that he had developed and pushed, out to other people. So he goes, yeah, that, my friend, do you know who that was? I go, no. And he goes, well, I didn't know who it was either when I met her, because she wasn't wearing her makeup or anything when I met her. And I talked to her for about 20 minutes before I found out who she was. I said, okay. He goes, yeah, she's going to send me some gold records that she got as part of a divorce settlement, for my studio. So that was what the call was about. And I said, who was it? He goes, that was Mariah. I went, Mariah as in Mariah Carey? He goes, yeah. So I was talking to Mariah Carey on the phone earlier today, and he goes, yeah. I go, okay, well, that's cool.
Oh my gosh, that's the last thing I thought you were going to say.
You never know. You never know what people are doing on the side. I had another guy that worked for me. He was on the night crew, and he was a poet, and he was a decent worker. But when he first started working on the night crew, stocking shelves and everything at night, it's hard for people to adjust to working, what are called mids, the overnight shifts, if you've never done it, because about 2 or 3 in the morning, your body wants to go to sleep, wear out. So, and of course, I'd been in retail long enough that I never slept, so it was just.
I feel that in my soul.
But one of the other workers on the crew came to me. And he goes, hey, you need to say something to Damon. His name is Damon. You need to say something to Damon. And I go, why? And he goes, because he was asleep. I go, oh, well, hell, he's only been working on the night crew for about a week or so. That's going to happen. And he goes, yeah, well, it's where he fell asleep. They have these things that are called reach trucks, and you've probably seen them if you've been in Home Depot or whatever, because they like cordon off the aisles and everything, and they bring them out to bring down pallets. But they're upright things that can turn in a narrow aisle, and they have forks that go up, and they'll go out into a pallet and bring it back up and down. Well, he was on the night crew to run one of those things because he was trained to use it. He fell asleep standing up in one of those things, which, is tremendously dangerous.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to say something about it. Well, everybody took their lunch at the same time because that's the way that you keep people from falling asleep, in their lunch hour and things like that. And just the camaraderie built, everybody goes at the same time. So we're all sitting at lunch in the break room, and I said, hey Damon, I hear you're doing a really good job. I'm hearing good things, from people about you. Now everybody else is like looking at me like, what the doesn't he know what's going on? And I go. He goes, oh, thanks. That's really good. I said, yeah, I hear you're so good at doing your work that you can do it in your sleep. Everybody else just went, oh. But Damon was a poet, and his
Aww.
poetry was really good. As an homage to him, there's actually a character in one of my books named.
Oh, that's really nice.
So,
Yeah, you never know. You never know what somebody is doing in their life. It's amazing,
there's
like I
a
said.
there's another guy that worked for me, the same store. Another guy that worked for me that was a cartoonist. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, but there's so much talent in that one little store, and I really think that if you dig around in a store, you're going to find some people who, are writing books, some people that are artists, some people that are painting things. There's a lot of people out there that have those dreams, and
Hmm.
some of them will succeed, some of them won't. The majority of people won't succeed. But my own personal goal was never to be rich and famous at doing something. It was to just be able to make a living doing what I want to do, and to be happy. And I got to a point working in retail where I realized that I wasn't making the kind of progress that I needed to make in my personal life. My job was keeping me away from my kids. My kids were growing up without their dad, pretty much. It was a stressful job, and it was going to kill me sooner or later, just because of the way that I internalized everything. And I had always wanted to be a writer, and I'd always been working on these books, and I never did anything with them. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to make a call here. I'm either going to be a writer now, or I'm never going to be a writer.
And
And
look at you now. Look at you
yeah,
now.
yeah, look at me now, still a struggling artist. But what I discovered is if you really want to do something, you'll find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because the
And
reason that most of those people aren't successful is because they don't push hard enough. They don't really go after that goal.
yeah, when somebody says no to them, they go, oh, okay, well, I tried.
And they feel that rejection and it just shuts them down. But as Elgin says, what's your famous line? If someone says no, it means
Not yet.
not yet.
That's an old thing I learned from sales, from selling cars. Actually, if somebody says no to you, usually it means not yet. You haven't told them everything that they need to hear in order to make
Exactly.
a decision to buy something. Well, in the publishing business, when somebody rejects your book, it's because it doesn't fit the criteria that we're looking for a book at this specific point in time. Maybe it will later. Maybe it's never going to get there. A lot of the stuff that you write is never going to make it into print. A lot of the stuff that you write is only for you, and it's for you building a character. It's for you developing the storyline or whatever. I just spent the last week going through a book that I wrote in 2006, and it's a sci-fi book, which I used to really be, I'm more in the fantasy area now, but I used to write a lot of sci-fi. But this book is kind of a bridge between the two, and it's set in the future. We're colonizing planets. We've destroyed Earth, and we're well on our way to doing that with other planets now. So it's kind of looking at the dark side of human nature, but there's also a lot of hope cast into the book too. Well, I'm going through and I'm reading it, and this book is actually two books, and each book is about, Zara's going to faint if she hears this. Each book is about 109,000 words.
Oh, Elgin.
Which, I'm notorious for having a lot of words in my manuscripts when I submit them, but that's even a lot for me. Okay. I wrote this book at around the same time that I was finishing up writing the Wolfcat Chronicles, which is actually 10 books. So this is the period that I was writing really long storylines. And I'm going through and trying to figure out where the actual story is in this thing. And there is a good story in there, but there's a lot of other filler material, a lot of background material. And what I have to do is figure out what actually supports the plot, what's needed for developing the characters, and what isn't.
Hardest part.
Because it has all that stuff in there. Now, when I was writing it, I was thinking, all this needs to be there. All this, I can't do without this. But now that I've published some books that I wrote well after this, and I understand the process of publishing, I understand that a lot of this stuff doesn't really advance the story, doesn't really contribute to the excitement of the story. And if you give this to somebody who's just reading it, for the entertainment value, they're going to go, this is boring. They're going to put it aside. It's not boring to me because it explains everything, I understand why I wrote it. But as a writer, you have to look at a book from a reader's perspective.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
And if you're fortunate enough to have a good editor who points those things out to you, your book will be much better.
Yes. Listen to that advice. Trust us.
But the problem most self-published people have is they don't have that extra step. Now, a lot of them do use editors, and I commend those people. But a lot of people try to publish a book on the cheap. I'm going to self-publish. I'm going to sell it to some people, and I'm going to make a name for myself and everything else. And the book comes out, and it's garbage. And it's not a bad story. Okay, it's not a good story. It's not a great story. It's meandering. It's convoluted. It's got all these breaks. It's got all this other stuff that doesn't need to be there, that doesn't support. And it's bloated. And a lot of times when you're writing a book, you're trying to make a word count or a page count. Okay, I'm going to write 10 pages today, or I'm going to write 3,000 words today, which that's a lot to write actually. Let's say 1,500 words. I'm going to write 1,500 words today. So you've got a quota going, and then you get it up to about 70,000 words, and you go, okay, well, I got a novel. I need to tie everything up. So you write a quick ending to it, and then if you're smart, you lay that thing aside and you can go start another project, and you come back to it about a month later. Then you go through and read it and start fixing it.
Yep.
Start revising it, revise it some more. You may actually go through it 4 or 5 times. If you still believe in the project after doing 5 revisions on it, and it's still interesting to you when you go through it, you probably got a good story. If you dread going through it, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it puts you to sleep, what chance does it have with somebody who has never read your writing? So the best thing you can do is get yourself an editor and, somebody that you trust their opinion. At least use beta readers, somebody who will tell you the truth.
Yes.
Not your favorite aunt who thinks everything that you do is great. Yeah, you need to find somebody who will give you an answer, and you need to have a thick skin.
Yes.
Because they're going to tell you.
Criticism.
I think I said this on a previous show. My first venture writing a novel happened in college, and I was ready to send the thing out to publishers because I thought it was great. And I was like 23, 22 at the time. I told one of my friends that I'd finished the book that I was working on, and I'd been working on this thing ever since I started college. And she said, "Oh, let me read it." So I let her read it. Then she comes back and tells me that's a really good first draft. And I was like, oh my God. And I went back and read it, and she was right. It was first draft. It wasn't even a particularly good one, but it needed a lot of work. And I still have that in its form.
Maybe you could fix it up
with all of her errors. Well, there's no point in it because the book's terrible. Okay. But it served its purpose for me in terms of giving me the confidence to write something at book length.
Right.
And there are pieces of that that made it into my other books later on. So it wasn't a waste of time.
It served its purpose.
It was part of the adventure of learning how to write. And you have to learn how to write before you can be an author.
Yes.
Okay?
You got to read a lot of books.
It sounds silly to state it in those terms, but there are a lot of people who think that they can write that are never going to be writers, never going to be authors, because it's a lifestyle. You wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and you have to get up and write it, or you at least jot down the note.
Yep.
You get the bug in your saddle and you'll pull over to the side of the road and write down a note. You're always a writer.
Ideas driving down the road. I'll see a street sign and be like, oh,
that would be a great
I'll get this later. You guys ever have any questions about the publishing business? Get a hold of us on social media. We can answer any questions that you may have. You know, if you need help with marketing, we can maybe give you some ideas. And I'm sure in our future shows, we're going to have all kinds of things to talk about, you know, so make sure to join in. We love it. You know, we love questions. We love helping people. We love helping indie authors. You know, we're not strictly just there for Pandamoon Publishing. We're there to help other people too. And we enjoy that. We enjoy helping people.
Well, your dog hasn't had puppies yet.
Look, hold on.
What's going on with that?
She's passed out. But I'll keep you updated.
Bless her heart.
Oh, while she's sleeping, I think I should probably go cook some supper.
Do something. Maybe take a nap.
I'm tired.
Well, hopefully she'll have them later today.
I'm pretty sure she will because of the temperature drop. Everything I've read, that's what it points to. So let's cross fingers.
All right. Next week is Easter, so we're not going to be doing a show for next week, but following week we'll be back on. I'm not really sure who we're interviewing. Maybe we'll interview some reviewers. I
think that's a great idea. I think if you're a reviewer and you want to come on the show, get a hold of us. I think that would be great.
Take care of your dog.
I will. I'm so tired.
And for the next 2 weeks, you're going to be nursing little puppies.
I can't wait. It'll be heaven. I'm just going to lay there and let them crawl all over me.
They will. That's one thing puppies like to do is crawl all over you and lick your face. And
yeah, I'm ready for that. I'm ready. All righty.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later. Bye. Bye-bye.